Leafs fans, and welcome back to Bud's Brunch. Once again, I'm Jessica, here with my wonderful co-host and father, Greg. Welcome back, Dad.
Thanks, I'm glad to be here.
Okay, well, first of all, we're making today, we're doing a little bit of Eggs Benedict, kind of my style. We're going to do that with a little bit of a spicy bacon because we really need the Leafs to heat things up heading into the playoffs, so we're going to heat breakfast up a little bit. You're going to start here, Dad. You're going to add this maple syrup and this sriracha into that bowl, mix it up, and then you're going to brush this bacon with it. Okay, so last night's game, obviously not the result that we wanted, but they looked a little bit better than they have in the past. What did you see out there that you liked, that you didn't, that is better than what you didn't like before?
Well, a couple of things. The Leafs have changed their strategy on the ice. The last three games, they've changed the way they exit the zone. They've taken a page out of the playbook of the Tampa Bay Lightning. When Tampa Bay tends to come out of their zone as a unit. Mm-hmm. And for most of the season, at least, we're living by the stretch pass and dying by the stretch pass.
And frustrating us by the stretch pass.
Yeah, and lots of face-offs result from the stretch pass because half the time they miss and they end up with face-off from the Leafs end. And you keep hearing them repeat, the Leafs are the second best face-off team in the NHL. Well, generally they might be. Well, you're playing an elite team, an elite face-off team like Tampa Bay, like Philadelphia with Giroux, who has the best face-off stats in the NHL, or Boston, who has Bergeron. You don't want face-offs in your own end.
Yeah, exactly.
And then say, well, the shot totals are down. The shot totals are down because when you have less face-offs, you have less shots on your own net.
Yeah.
So shots are down. They're exiting the zone as a unit. The gap between the defense and the forward is less. The other thing I saw the Leafs do as far as they're ending the offensive zone, they were coming through the neutral zone, and if the team was plugging up the neutral zone, the Leafs were doing the other teams what the other teams like to do to the Leafs. Chip the puck in, go after it, jump on the defense. You can't just play a 40-minute game, which seems to be what they've been doing for most of the season, not getting a full 60 minutes, not starting on time, which is very important. And so the last three games we've seen that, and again, last night they deserved much better, but what are you going to do? How many times has Freddie stolen a game for the Leafs? It also goes to show you that really we need to get, Freddie at peak performance, Freddie Anderson peak performance going into the playoffs.
And do you agree with them resting him down the stretch and playing Sparks a little bit more?
I do agree with that.
Yeah, so do I actually.
Yeah, so pick their spots, but then again, you want to also keep them sharp. Because, if you ask Frederick Anderson, he would say he doesn't want rest.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but, if the shot counts are down to 20 or 25, maybe you could play him every game. But if he's seen 40 shots... Which
he is, and he has all season, right? That's the difference, is that he might be playing the same number of games as every other starting goalie, but he is not facing the same amount of shots.
Yeah, the last three games, again, because they changed the way they're exiting in the zone, the forwards are coming back and supporting the D, that's made a big difference. So we have to continue to play that way on that.
Yeah.
But as far as the Leafs' depth on defense, they have a fairly significant stable of defensemen. They've got four that are three of them that are almost NHL ready.
Yeah, but that's the point, right? Is we do have them. Right. They're just not NHL ready. And so people were, I guess, frustrated and speculating that there's trouble in paradise with Babcock and Dubas because Babcock can only be given, or he can only work with the players that Dubas gives him, and why isn't Dubas giving him more players, right? So people are, why don't they go and trade those defensemen who aren't quite ready for a guy right now who can help them in the playoffs and help them win the cup? Well, like you said, why would they do that?
Well, first off, before we get into that point, a number of those players were injured.
Yes.
And they couldn't bring them up.
Yeah.
So even Liljegren had a high ankle sprain, which takes about as long to recover from as a broken leg.
Yeah.
It's pretty significant. Then I think Borgman and Rosen were also injured. Now, getting back to Dubas, he wasn't willing to sell the farm, right? To give up the top prospects at the trade deadline to get a rental defenseman. In a year where, let's face it, the Leafs are not Stanley Cup ready yet. They're a few years away, likely. And everyone's got to remember that go back to the Shanaplan. Everybody's got to calm down. This is a strategy, right? A strategic business.
It's like people have forgotten about the Shanna plan.
Yeah, it didn't come up much. I found
It's
that
so
really
weird.
strange that didn't come up in the discussion.
Like, they think he's not pulling the strings up there?
Well, everybody thinks the Leafs are, let's go win the Stanley Cup this year, but...
It wasn't a 2-year plan.
It wasn't a 2-year plan. Absolutely not. And Dubas, and by the way, nobody's talking about Shanahan. Do you think he doesn't have a say in this? It's the and we talked about the Shanna plan. To go and trade away 2 or 3 top prospects to get a rental player in a year where you've got a juggernaut team that could walk away with the Stanley Cup is the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Exactly.
Never mind the curse of the President's Trophy.
Yeah, and not to mention that Boston is also in their way.
Right.
So it's not just that, and Boston's looking really good. They won a huge stretch of games recently without David Pastrnak. Mm-hmm. They went 12-3 or something without him, and then he came back. So, and again, they win faceoffs.
Yeah, they were missing Bergeron, they were missing Chara all year long, and they didn't miss a beat.
No.
So they're going to be tough. So, in the end of the day, you know what? Babcock wants to win every game.
Yeah.
That's the kind of coach I want. I want a coach that is going to win every game.
Yeah.
Wants to win every game.
Yeah.
Right. But then it has to be tempered with strategic management. Okay. So with Shanahan and Dubas, we want a team that's going to be in the hunt every year for a number of years.
Yes.
And you know what? The off season's coming, and the Leafs could make some trades and maybe get some more. Maybe get another good defenseman, maybe the right-handed one that Babcock wanted so badly and didn't get.
Yeah, and you never know when the free agency comes up, and it'll all depend on how they do perform in the playoffs, right?
Now, the Nylander name comes up. Let's see how he performs. If I recall, didn't have such a good playoff last year.
Didn't have such a good season this year.
But, and by the way, who had a pretty decent playoff last year and the year before that was Kapanen.
Yeah, that's true.
If you recall, he made some critical plays that got them into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So stand back, see how they perform in the playoffs, and that will then have a huge impact on who goes and who stays.
Yeah, exactly. Because there is more pressure in the playoffs.
Well, there's lots of examples of players that play really, really good and then disappear in the playoffs. I'll use Tampa Bay as an example.
Okay.
Kucherov last year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Not so great.
But
a little disappointing.
having a ridiculous season.
Regular season.
Regular.
But there are...
Not regular.
Regular.
Beyond
that's right.
regular. He's very good.
Again, maybe some pressure on Kucherov, but...
All right, let's get this bacon into the oven.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to start poaching some eggs over here for the for the Eggs Benedict, and then I'll start on the hollandaise.
Top rack or bottom rack?
Top rack, please.
Sure.
Bacon going in.
Beautiful.
Okay, so bacon is in the oven. I'm going to start attempting to poach these eggs. I don't remember the last time I poached an egg, so we're just going to try and do it on camera and hope that it works out and that I don't mess it up. All right, so while I do this, we'll talk about how I went down to the old Canadian Tire Center down there in Ottawa to visit our crazy old Uncle Eugene.
Yeah, he's kind of like your crazy uncle that lives in the attic, right? Some of the stuff that he says, it's pretty good. It's pretty entertaining, actually. It just reminds me a little bit of a crazy guy that used to hang out in the bunker at Maple Leaf Gardens for 20 years with his little buddy King Clancy. So the Leaf Nation had to endure that for a lot longer. So good luck, Ottawa. Better you than us.
Yeah.
We've already been through this for us that have been around a long time and had to endure the Harold Ballard years. Jess, you wouldn't remember. It was before your time, but it wasn't.
But thanks to you, I read about it.
Yeah. And again, here's a guy that just eliminated 3 star players and upset his entire fan base, and then is running around talking about rebuild. These exciting young players. By the way, he doesn't have a first-round draft pick this year. He traded that for Matt Duchene. So very interesting and very entertaining. And I think we just need to flush it and move on. But I do feel sorry for the Ottawa fans. But like I said, we had to endure someone like that for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So I feel your pain, but better you than us. Appears to me anyway on the surface, at least have a strategic plan. They're going to stay with it. They're going to stay calm. You didn't hear anybody, through the turbulence of last week and everything in the radio media and the TV media about, that's in. What was said was inappropriate. And again, I'm just saying that he was just stating the obvious.
Yeah.
And we're really, really lucky to have Babcock is very accessible to the press. He's not afraid to face the cameras, and even he said, listen, he's out there a couple times a day, so cut him some slack, and I really don't think there's an issue between the two of them.
And so speaking of chemistry, I wanted to talk a little bit about Jake Muzzin. I don't want, obviously not a complete disappointment so far, but as far as his relationship and partnership with Morgan Riley, I remember you kind of had a little bit of an analogy that you liked to use when we first got Muzzin, very excited about what kind of player he was and how he was going to complement.
Ideally, what you want to have, an ideal defense part, especially in the top four, is a hunter-farmer kind of relationship. More recently, we had Erik Karlsson in Methot.
Yeah, in Ottawa, yeah.
Yeah, and Karlsson had a career season playing with Methot. And Methot was a stay-at-home guy. Karlsson got in a little trouble. If there was a 2-on-1 or an odd-man rush, Methot would stay in the middle, take the shooter, let the goalie take the shooter, prevent the pass across, and just keep everybody calm. And even
so
going back,
Muzzin being the farmer and Riley being.
And he is from Woodstock, right?
Well, that's a farming community.
So it makes sense. So ideally, to me, that's what you really, really try to achieve when you're putting together. But top four would be ideally you would have 4 defensemen, the hunter-farmer situation in the top 2 pairings. Yeah.
All right, so we're just finishing up our hollandaise sauce here, so I'm almost done with that. So while I finish that up, we'll let you know I just put 1 egg yolk and 1 tablespoon of water into a double boiler and mixed it up as you saw, so it's nice and light and fluffy. And then I have 1/4 cup of drawn butter over here, so I took sort of like that milky part out of it after I melted it, and now we're just left with this nice clear butter. Nice and warm.
I'm getting hungry.
You were mentioning that you noticed there's been a difference in the face-off dot. So we talked about how terrible Matthews, and not just, I'm not throwing Matthews under the bus, but his face-off performances haven't been awesome, and he's not the only one. But you said that you may have noticed something different.
Yeah, the adjustment was that I found, number one, Babcock is using Nylander a little bit more in the draws, depending on what side of the net that they're on or who they're facing.
Okay.
Are you drawing it back to the corner? You're drawing it in front of the net. To the goalie, you're drawing it back to the corner. So.
And how recent is this?
I just found the last couple weeks, recently more, especially after what happened in the Philadelphia and Tampa game. And the other thing that I noticed is the Leafs are starting to scramble the draw a little bit. So what I mean by scrambling the draw, instead of trying to do a clean win on the draw, tie up the other player's stick. If you're up against an elite face-off player, tie up the stick and then contest the puck.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're putting together our Eggs Benedict, which is not completely traditional. I mixed it up a little bit. So one of the things I changed is I put this cheese on there from the Cheese Boutique. So this is a 4-month aged unpasteurized sheep's milk cheese from Quebec.
Wow.
Fromagerie Nouvelle-France is where the cheese is made. So it's aged 4 months. It's incredibly delicious. I tried it the other day. Okay, well, we're ready to go. Let's go eat.
Okay,
Everything's ready over there. Let's do it. Okay, Dad, here we go. Here's our
this looks great.
Sriracha maple bacon eggs Benny.
Beautiful.
Let's dig in.
Love it.
Cheers. You have to clink the forks.
Oh,
the forks.
The forks. Turned out really well.
Okay, yeah, I really want to try this. A little spice on the bacon. Yep. Delicious.
Really good.
There's still no C, which is sort of expected. No captain for the Leafs yet. And there's a lot of speculation of who that guy is going to be. And you don't want to exactly name a name, but you want to actually build a player who you, like the type of player that you think would be captain.
You've heard the Riley, you've heard Matthews, you've heard...
I've even heard Tavares.
Tavares, yeah, so John Tavares as well. So, and of course, Tavares has had experience when he was the captain of the New York Islanders.
And I believe he was also assistant captain for Team Canada.
Yes, it's true. Right. Let's face it, if you look at some of the great captains over the years, So how comfortable would it be if I was a passenger of the Ranger team that won the Stanley Cup that year in New York,
Okay.
and I had to deal with Mark Messier? How much fun would that be?
I would be terrified.
It wouldn't
Mark
be a
Messier.
lot of fun. Or if I was on the Islander team, the dynasty team in the 1980s, and I had to face Dennis Potvin, that
Yeah.
wouldn't be a lot of fun. So I'm not saying we had to select a player like that.
Yeah, because not everyone is a captain like Sidney Crosby who can just kind of glare at you from down the bench. Like those guys would be up in your face, right?
Right. Crosby has a different approach. I mean, he uses body language. He looks. He has another way.
But is an extremely effective captain nonetheless.
He's probably the best captain in the game today, I think. We don't know what goes on in the dressing room.
Yeah.
We don't know that. But Crosby leads by jumping on the ice and giving, playing 200 feet of hockey and giving all he has, and he'll come back to the bench and he'll look around like this when things aren't going well. And really, I don't think I've ever seen him take a shift off.
No.
By now, they probably know. We'll wait and see. But they need a captain.
They do. It's no hurry right now. Like you said, probably will be this season, and it's, like you said,
Right.
leadership by committee at this point.
Right.
Well, I guess we'll figure out at some point who the captain is, and until then, only a few games left until the playoffs, Dad.
I know.
I don't know if we'll be back yet.
Keep our fingers crossed. Let's hope we can keep this going.
At least
Yeah.
one. How about, let's just hope for one round, okay?
Yeah. Knock off the Bruins. Come on.
Back
Never
with
mind
one.
Marchand snickering and taking shots at the Leafs, saying we need to get back at that guy.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
need some bulletin board material to motivate them.
Yeah, so if whatever Marchand says fuels the fire against the Leafs and they beat them in round one, I don't care what you say. You can be the best or the worst trash talker in the league as long as we kick your butt, I don't care.
Yeah. So as we mentioned, they might not go deep in the playoffs, but Leafs, prove me wrong.
Please.
I'd be really happy if you did.
Yeah, and I'll drink to that. Cheers.
Cheers.
Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining
Thank
us. And
you.
make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Have a great day.
See you next time.
See you next time. Cheers. Thank you.